So these are the GUIs and or front ends for PF Firewall. The first one is this, which is pflist. This is really just lists the rules. So if you see here, it shows you the rules in a GUI. Pretty simple. So that's an option if you just want a GUI just to look at it. Works for 10.7 and newer. Then you've got Icefloor, which is more of a full firewall front end, but it only currently works with OS X 10.7 to 10.10. And if we have a look at it, it looks like this. And here you can see it actually comes with presets, which can be quite useful. So this does make it easier to use PF. The most powerful front end with additions is this, Murus. Click on product. We can see there's the Murus Lite, the Murus Basic and the Murus Pro. The Lite is free and has the least features, and the Pro has the most features. And the Pro actually includes something called Valum, which is an application layer firewall. This allows you to take full control of your Mac at both the application and network layer, which is this. So you can enable and disable applications like you've seen in Windows for applications. And this is what Murus Lite looks like. If we click on here, we can see we have a couple of objects here. I'll just give you a quick run through of it. Basic features. We've got dynamic ports and basic ports. And this is for inbound. You see here we've got inbound and we've got outbound. Outbound's allowing all services. Inbound's allowing dynamic ports and basic services. If we click on here and then on here, we can see what it's actually allowing. So dynamic ports, it's allowing all of these ports and it's allowing it for these groups here. If there's anything here, these groups will be blocked, and these are the groups from which you can choose from. So what you can see here, it's allowing local networks, 192.168, etc. And these in IPv6 to communicate inbound on those ports here. And then we've got basic services, which is things like DNS, MDNS, NTP, DHCP, and that's allowing it for everyone as an inbound rule. If we click here, we can see services that we can essentially drag and drop to enable the rules. So if I click on here, web, we're enabling the access to a web server. If I had a web server on this device, if we click here, enabling it to everybody, port 80 and 443. Maybe I didn't want to add everybody. So then what I would have to do is I would have to create a group here of whatever devices or IP addresses I wanted. By adding the details in here. And then I could add that group in there. If I click here, you can see the actual PF firewall rules that have been created based on what I have enabled here. And there are the outbound services, and currently it's enabling all outbound connections on TCP and UDP. One disadvantage of this Lite version, you cannot delete all services. and change it and only allow specific services. Say you wanted to allow port 53 and 80 and 443 just for web serving. You can't do that in the light version. You need a paid for version. And the other versions do have more features here than what you can see. You also have another thing which is very useful called strategies. You can restore the default configuration. You can go through a configuration wizard where you can select the sort of options that you want. So do we want a firewall for inbound there where all inbound connections are blocked except explicitly passed connections? Yes, we would. Then we can choose block inbound connections from other computers, these local services, or these other things, etc. Choosing logging. And then it creates the rules for us. Go back to strategies again. On intermediate, you can just select them instead of going through it stage by stage. On expert, that essentially means you configure it without this. And they also have these predefined firewall configuration presets, which you can move from safe to unsafe here. And on safe, it's blocking all services. So all inbound services blocked. And as I've said before, you would want to block all inbound and outbound and only allow what it is that you want to actually implement. Now, Murus Pro is the most powerful and configurable GUI firewall for Mac OS X. It has a very good documentation and help, which you can see here, and it also includes video tutorials, so it's easy to get to grips with. I think it's easier than Icefloor. Now, if you see on these video tutorials, you can see one of them here is actually how to enable this firewall to enable VPNs and prevent leaking. So that might be a worthwhile video to watch if you're interested in preventing leaking using this. There are lots more features, such as you can control bandwidth, you can look at your network cards, see the traffic that's passed, you've got sniffers, you can enable those. So there's lots of things here, start, stop, etc. Much more features in the Pro version. So that's Murus Lite anyway.